We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. During a trade meeting, Trump mocked transgender people before Canada's PM Carney, who has a non-binary child, making the incident deeply personal and tense.
Pam Bondi's refusal to answer Senate questions about alleged Trump photos in Epstein's safe sparks widespread suspicion and political uproar.
San Diego, the Marnie Von Wilpert enters congressional race against Darrell, Issa, vowing to protect democracy, LGBTQ rights, and equality under the law.
By 2030, millions of queer elders will face aging inequities, driving the rise of inclusive housing and care that ensures dignity and belonging.
Alliance Defending Freedom allegedly misused studies to defend conversion therapy before the U.S. Supreme Court. Researchers condemned this manipulation.
Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels. Analytics company vidIQ has certified the Queer News Tonight YouTube channel as the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show. In 2025, our queer stories have reached 11 million streaming views, and Queer News Tonight has been the most watched LGBTQ news and lifestyle show in the world this year.
We are proud that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida.
We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in the LGBTQ community. There is no other news program in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight.
Hey all, it is Thursday, October 9th, and we are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we will tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show. Hotspots Happening Out is one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America, in the same model as PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ community.
We support the 11 pillars of the LGBTQ community and want to inform and educate on the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture.
Our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ experience. Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 11,000 LGBTQ streaming stories. We present South Florida's major LGBTQ events, including Pride Fort Lauderdale, Stonewall Pride, and Pride Fest. Our nonprofit 501c3 magazine, events, television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
In 2025, more than 100 community leaders will host this show to support the LGBTQ community. Let's meet today's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome Mark Gilbert, known to many as Marky G, who has been a powerhouse in South Florida's LGBTQ plus community for over 2 decades. As OUTshine's longtime board chair, he is united and expanded the festivals, creating signature programs and energized audiences. His groundbreaking radio shows, Marky G's Issues Over the Rainbow, gave queer voices a national spotlight, proving his passion for entertainment, community, and visibility shines everywhere he goes. Mark, OUTshine LGBTQ Plus Film Festival 17th Annual Fall Edition begins on October 16th and it runs through November 2nd. Tell me, what's happening now?
Well, it's actually our 24th festival, give or take.
Wow.
New Year's, who cares? Our 44th festival. This is the as I just said, this is actually the 27th year, our 44th annual OUTshine LGBTQ Film Festival. It'll take place October 16th to November 2nd, celebrating queer storytelling and resilience across Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and online. The festival will open with Blue Moon, starring Ethan Hawke, and my God, he is amazing. And it takes place at the Savor Cinema, Fort Lauderdale, followed by a very lively after party at Masa and more. Over the next 2 weeks, OUTshine will host spotlight screenings, special events, and premieres in more than 25 countries worth of films, including The Captive at the Regal Dania Point and Jimpa, starring John Lithgow, another amazing actor with a great performance, I might add, for the closing night at Silver Spot Miami downtown with 55 plus films and after party. Its signature Cocktails and Cinema screening series. OUTshine will unite audiences to laugh, cry, and celebrate diversity. Even as rainbow crosswalks fade, the festival will shine as a vibrant reminder that the OUTshine LGBTQ plus spirit cannot be erased. OUTshine Film Festival is South Florida's premier showcase for LGBTQ films, producing 2 large-scale 11-day events across South Florida. For more information, go to OUTshineFilm.com.
This October, OUTshine lights up South Florida with one of the world premiere LGBTQ+ film festivals. With over 60 films from around the globe, filmmaker Q&As, and lively after-parties, OUTshine is more than a festival. It's a celebration of culture, community, and pride. Whether in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, or from home, don't miss your chance to laugh, cry, and connect at the OUTshine LGBTQ+ Film Festival. Tickets on sale now at OUTshineFilm.com.
This festival is so much fun. Let me ask you guys a question. Think about something for a second. If you guys don't come to our festival, if you at home don't come to our festival, who will? We are building this festival for our community, for the LGBTQ community. There are filmmakers all over the world that are creating content about our lives, our comedies, our romance, our documentaries, our shorts. These are for us to enjoy. And I wonder sometime where I would love to see these huge crowds come to the movies. We don't get them all the time, and we want them. In order for us to survive, more of you have to come out and support the festival. And I'm being really upfront about it because I'm not asking you not to have a great time. Yeah. The films are so much fun. The parties are amazing. Anybody that's been to an OUTshine party has the greatest time, always and forever. And I'm just saying to all of you, please come out. Don't come to one movie. Come to a lot of movies. Bring your friends and support the festival. Join, become a member. It's the only way we can thrive and keep this as the treasure it is in South Florida for 27 years.
Well said, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, that is, I go almost every year, if not every year, and if I have been for 2 decades, and my partner and I love it. It's for us, it's the highlight of the year in October, and throughout the year. There's always events throughout the year. It's exactly that. It's a fun space. I learn so much. I meet new people. I sometimes have a drink, maybe not, but it is. I always have a great time, and I just want to thank you and all the folks at OUTshine for the incredible work you're doing to sustain our community, to give us this kind of culture and entertainment and community building that we all thrive in and need in our lives. So thank you for the incredible work you do. And 100% go show up. Did you see that scroll? I kept on watching the posters and the flyers of all of them. I want to see all of them.
A lot of great.
So I mean,
one of the best programs.
Yeah.
And Mark, you guys do so many different events and screenings with OUTshine. We love talking about it at Queer News Tonight. We love to see everything. Yes. And I, for one, just love looking at all the random shirtless photos that are sent just to put up on the screen. It looks like it's good eye candy to go see sometime.
Yeah, torture. Remember, if not us, then who? We need to support this festival. Please come out and have a great time while you're doing it.
And I think, as you noted, perhaps today more than ever, right? That is that there's an urgency that if we don't support ourselves and support the work that we do, Who will?
Think about it for a second. Think of the cuts that have happened in arts in general, then add the LGBTQ component, and it's even more difficult. This is a rough time for our festival, and it's a lot of fun. I want to say this is one of the best programs we've had in a lot of years. The films are amazing, the stars, and by the way, we have a lot of talent coming in, so you get to meet movie stars, have a great time, Q&As afterward, parties, the talents at the parties. It's just a great place to spend some time.
Do it. Thank you so much. Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at OUTshine LGBTQ+ Film Festival's 17th Annual Fall Edition from October 16th through November 2nd. Let's welcome anchor Alex Morash. Alex has served as editor-in-chief of Options magazine, media director of the National LGBTQ Task Force, and press secretary for the Florida Democratic Party. Oof, that's a lot of awesome stuff. Welcome, Alex.
I've been accused of worse, you know. I'm happy to be here tonight. I want to remind viewers, don't forget October 11th is National Coming Out Day. You know, for those that don't know, I myself am a homosexual. Not many realize that. So I can't wait for it.
Shocking.
I have a friend getting married that day, so congratulations, Adam, on your wedding. It's a good time. Like, I assume everyone's going to know.
He must be gay.
He is, and I'm thinking he's coming out at that wedding.
It's a good time to come out.
Yes, it is.
Betrothed.
And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, Julio Capo Jr., board member of the Stonewall National Museum Archives and Library. He is a history professor at Florida International University, FIU, my alma mater, I might add, and the author of the book, Welcome to Fairyland, Queer Miami Before 1940. Julio's Vizcaya's Everyone's Quince is to light up Hispanic Heritage Month, October 15th. Hey, tell me what's happening now.
Oh, I'm so excited about this. I think Vizcaya is killing it. They're just doing such great community events, and this is no exception. On Wednesday, October 15th, the Vizcaya Museum and Gardens, it's in Miami, they're going to host Vizcaya Late. That's the series that they run, and this time it's called Everyone's Quince, a lively evening celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. Who doesn't love a good quinceañera? I love a good quinceañera party. The event will honor, I don't have friends who are who are turning 15 anymore, but when I was 15 myself, I hung out a lot of them. The event will honor the long-standing tradition of quinceañeras at Vizcaya, where generations of Miami's Hispanic community have marked this cherished milestone, including my sister Annette. I love you, Annette. Guests will arrive dressed for a quince-inspired night and will enjoy Latin rhythms from a live DJ, percussionist, and salsa lessons led by Elisa Baena of Salsa Z, and visitors will create birthday crowns and the craft station, take part in an engaging Spanglish tour inspired by Que Pasa USA, also one of my favorite TV shows, and savor slices, I'm so annoying, of celebratory cake on the East Terrace. The event will run from 6 to 9 p.m. with members attending for free and early bird discounts available before noon on October 9th. Vizcaya Museum and Gardens is a vibrant cultural hub in the heart of Miami. It's a space where history, nature, and art converge. And for more details and ticket sales, visit vizcaya.org.
For generations, Vizcaya has been a backdrop for quinceañera memories. For so many of us, a quince is more than a birthday party. It's a moment to shine, to belong, to celebrate who we are. Relive the magic at Vizcaya with Everyone's Quince, a chance to celebrate culture and tradition together. Dance, create, share your story. Whether it's your first quince or your 15th, this night is for everyone. Celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month at Vizcaya Late, October 15th from 6 to 9 p.m. Tickets are just $15, so reserve yours online now.
How queer and how fun is that? Quinceañeras are just so campy and so fun. And I just, when my sister turned 15 and she had a quinceañera and had to dance with her, and I loved it so much. My sister is my best friend, and to this day. And she took her pictures at Vizcaya, which is like a Miami Latina girl tradition, and it's been really since the 70s. Not that my sister did it in the 70s, but that is, I don't want her to get mad at me and be like, you told everyone I'm how old? But it's just a great space. they're doing great community events, and they're really inclusive. They like to tell multiple stories.
And you have a history with them, don't you?
Yeah, I was their inaugural scholar in residence last year, which was so fun. I was helping them uncover and document their LGBT past. So that is one of the chief designers of Vizcaya, really the architect, or kind of interior designer, but he gave himself credit as an architect.
They have a huge past. White Party was there.
And the White Party was hosted there as the grassroots fundraiser for HIV/AIDS beginning in 1984. But before then, in the 1910s and 20s, a man named Paul Scholfen, who was the interior designer, lived openly gay there with his partner, Louis Coons. And it has a strong, they're trying so hard to recover those stories. And to be fair, quinceañeras are part of that. That is like, not to say it's queer in that sense, but they love telling the stories of what this space has meant to different communities over the decades. And I love that.
It's a beautiful place too, isn't it?
Gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous.
And I hear you, because not everyone's quinceañera is queer, but like when I was a little boy and I dressed up in those dresses, it was a little queer.
It's a cake dress. Like you're essentially wearing a cake dress. And it's just, it prepares you, for if you're entering womanhood or entering gayhood, as you did.
Which, we all know is a distinct possibility for a lot of us.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Julio Capo, and let's queer up the USA view. Trump mocked trans people before Canada's PM, whose child is non-binary. President Donald Trump mocked transgender people in front of Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, whose child identifies as non-binary. This happened during an Oval Office meeting that was meant to focus on trade relations, but instead turned into a display of Trump's culture war politics. The session, held in the presence of reporters, was supposed to highlight renewed U.S.-Canada cooperation. But, as The Independent reported, it, quote, devolved into a political rally disguised as a routine press availability, end quote. Trump repeatedly veered off topic to attack Democrats, the media, and transgender people, boasting, quote, we have strong borders, we have no men and women's sports, we're not going to take your child away and change the sex of your child, end quote. He continued, claiming Democrats had left America a dead country plagued by, quote, men playing in women's sports and transgender for everybody and windmills all over the place, end quote. Carney, seated beside him, remained silent, a restraint reflecting the stakes of Canada's trade dependence on the United States. Carney and his wife, economist Diana Fox Carney, have 4 children, including Sasha, a Yale graduate profiled in 2019 for using they-them pronouns and embracing non-binary identity. Trump's continued targeting of transgender people remains a central theme of his political brand. This is so rough, and I have to say this is just part of the political theater that he, does time and time again, right? And part of the embarrassment is to, part of the appeal to him is to embarrass these, political figures, right? In this case, Carney just has to sit there and listen because he knows what's at stake, and this is so hard because this is neither here nor there, but it just takes me to this. 2 weekends ago, my team participated in the Gay Softball World Series, which, by the way, we won. Out of 57 teams, the Fort Lauderdale team won. Whoosh, we love you. Whoosh team is amazing. Thank you for taking me on and for letting me play. But one of the things that happened is that so many Canadian teams that this league has existed for 50 years, and a lot of Canadian teams boycotted this year, right? Which is not unusual, as we're seeing happen all over the spectrum in terms of industry, and it was hard. It hurt. I have so many friends who play in Toronto, for example, who were dying to come, but they wanted to stand strong in this kind of a statement of political solidarity, because things like this they affect so many of us, right? The amount of times that they just kind of use this transgender boogeyman to just attack our humanity, and it's of course just political theater, and it just bothers me to no end.
He is never embarrassed by his atrocious behavior, his atrocious commentary, and the people that are around him. You watch the faces as they have to sit there stonewall, no matter what their positions are on the various topics. But it's a constant what's coming out of this man's mouth next, and nobody ever knows. And for me, I'm sickened by it. I'm sickened by it because he hurts a lot of very good people, and it's just what happens.
I hear you. On the one hand, Trump's comments are disgusting and also show a mental decline. He does not look healthy. I'm very well known of saying I thought Joe Biden was way too old to maintain the Oval Office. Trump looks even worse. But, on the other hand, Canada and a lot of other European countries, they've lived under this lie that they are partners with the United States and they're actually vassal states of the American empire, and, I hear Canadians, they get upset. I'm like, you guys have not minded the U.S. committing war crimes that have helped enrich your nation along with our nation. You've never minded that one bit. And to see the prime minister be like, I'm going to stand up to Trump, and then when he meets him, absolute silence. I'm like, well, I'm glad you understand the relationship you've made with your neighbor. It's not something that I necessarily approve of, but that's the real politique of the world, and I'm glad that maybe finally the world will start waking up to this.
Well, you're right, but the distraction here is that all of these commentaries that he has are a distraction from the real issues that are at play. And there's much bigger issues that are facing this country than just the trans issue or the homosexual issue or women in sports or...
The percentages here are so tiny. I mean, it takes me to the moment where Zelensky had to just sit there right in front of him and just be like, and you apologize to us or whatever, or say you're thankful or whatever it was. Right. And it was just this uncomfortable level of just, this power trip that
they hold the cards.
They hold the cards, and it's exactly what you noted, right? It is about this, it is about the American empire and the.
Well, especially with Europe and Canada, where they really didn't realize the relationship, and a lot of foreign commentators started oh, these countries, now that they know the U.S. isn't going to back them or is more likely to conquer them, Trump's referred to Canada the 51st state, and
Greenland.
These countries. They've all been flat-footed. They have not in any way attempted to become more independent, try and come up with a new form of a new type of NATO without the United States.
Actually, there's new alliances that are being formed now with Canada and Europe bypassing the United States, which aren't going to be very good for our country.
If Canada bypassed the United States, it would be conquered in a day. I really do mean that. Look at what we've been doing to Cuba for 80 years because they don't play ball with us. Do you think Canada would be treated better? But to get back to...
Canada speaks English.
That helps, but the biggest thing with Trump's issues to remember is, yes, he says these inflammatory things, but he's not coherent anymore. Yes, he says they're the first things that spark in his brain at this point.
Well, Pritzker yesterday said he has dementia.
It really does look like it.
Well, I want to make sure we also that we stand with our trans brothers and sisters and folks generally, and Canada in this case, right? That it's an act of bullying, and that in whatever space this is, whether diplomatic and foreign affairs, it's unacceptable, and this is not how politics is run.
Remember, beyond this, our history is being erased.
100%.
Taken out of books, as well as African American history, Latino history, women. Yeah. It's not fair. It's not right. It's a new world that we're living in, and I hope people realize that unless they stand up, there's a lot worse things coming down the road.
Well said.
Now let's take a deep dive into the big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Mark Gilbert, and let's queer up politics. Did Pam Bondi just confirm Epstein had Trump photos? Did Florida's notorious former Attorney General, Pam Bondi, just confirm the unthinkable? Well, appearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee, Bondi was asked by Senator Sheldon Whitehouse whether the FBI had found compromising photos of Donald Trump in Jeffrey Epstein's safe. Whitehouse pressed for a simple yes or no. Bondi's response, or, maybe we'll call it lack of one, spoke volumes. She stared silently, mouth open, as one of the people waited, as we all waited, just to hear what is she going to say. That deafening silence, as one of the observers put it, has sparked a firestorm of speculation. Many believe Bondi's non-answer was a strategic answer, a choice, an attempt to avoid perjury without confirming that Epstein possessed photos of Trump with, quote, half-naked young women, unquote, as White House described them. Having Despite having the authority to release all Epstein records, both Trump and Bondi have refused. Trump had once promised transparency, but now dismisses Epstein's case as a Democratic hoax. Well, there's one we've never heard before, a Democratic. I like that. Interesting. The reluctance to unseal the files has only deepened suspicions. Trump's long-term friendship with Epstein and his own troubling record are part of what keeps this story alive. For many in the LGBTQ community and beyond, Bondi's silence isn't just about politics. It's about accountability, power, and truth still locked away. Now, I want to say something about this because this was their fight. This was the Republicans demanding that these files be opened. Mm-hmm. This is something that they insisted, from Bondi to all the Republicans in the House and Senate. They all insisted on the same thing. And now all of a sudden the tables are completely turned and they're locking everything away and saying, oh, well, never mind, including Donald Trump himself, calling it a Democratic scam, a hoax, and everything else.
No, it's funny because, why were Republicans saying that? Because their core base are conspiracy theorists. And
yeah.
No, I mean that very seriously. Donald Trump
you're right.
No,
actively
it's peddled in that forever.
Yeah. He courted QAnon, he courted the conspiracy theory world, and as someone who used to research that sort of world in media matters, they are really obsessed with assuming other people are pedophiles and sexual offenders, and
babies in cages.
Don't even get me on that one, but Natalie Wynn, she's of ContraPoints, the YouTuber, she did a whole big thing on conspiracy, and she talked about how conspiracy theorists, they like to project that sexual abuse is exotic in someone else. So they really like to do that sort of projection, and that's why they're obsessed with it. Trump's courted them, and it's looking like there's some shirtless girl pictures with him in an Epstein safe somewhere. And, I applaud Senator Whitehouse for calling it out. I've met him many times as a former Rhode Islander myself, and in Rhode Island, you literally get to know everyone in the state because it's only 12
It doesn't
people
take
there.
a long time to cross.
No, not really. But he's always been a good fighter with this stuff. The Democrats should keep pushing it, but seriously, Donald Trump, he courted this group. The conspiracy theorists are going to turn on him in a weird way. It's going to get really weird really fast.
I agree with that. I'm kind of waiting for it, because that is the enemy of my enemy is my friend, kind of, in this weird way, right? And I just, I also am anticipating these kind of fellow travelers kind of argument that might just kind of transpire before our very eyes, because that is, it's an odd group of people, and it's a very strange story. But there are deep silences, and that is, I don't peddle in conspiracy theories, and I don't, I hate that politics is so clearly started to do so. But there are infractions here that need to be understood in no unclear terms.
When Marjorie Greene is your friend,
right.
You've got real problems.
I know.
She's the only Republican really fighting to make sure that these files get open. She's the only
Even
one.
a broken clock.
One of the most
Right. You can tell time one time a day. Right?
She's the true blue conspiracy theorist.
Yeah,
and those types, they really take this sort of sexual assault stuff very seriously in their weird
As we should.
way.
I know.
Yeah. And with the enemy of my enemy, we have one, that group is then, we've got a guy with probably dementia and a bunch of conspiracy theorists. That's what we're doing.
This is where we are.
Well, if you watch the trials, it was unbelievable. Bondi was defiant. She was adamant. She would not answer questions. And there is no accountability for this administration
at all,
from Epstein files to anything and everything in between.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up politics. San Diego's bisexual council member enters the ring against Darrell Issa. San Diego City Council member Martin Van Wilpert says her run for Congress isn't about ambition. It's about survival. The bisexual Democrat is challenging Republican Representative Darrell Issa in California's 48th District. But she's driven by what she calls an urgent need to protect democracy and LGBTQ rights under Trump's presidency. Von Wilbert told the advocate, quote, "I'm watching things that I've built my career on, my life on, be crushed by President Trump. As a young woman in this fight, I've lost my rights under Roe v. Wade. And as an LGBTQ woman, I'm worried about losing my rights to equality under the law, end quote. A former peace corps volunteer and civil rights attorney, Vaughn Wilbert has spent her career advancing labor rights and consumer protections. On the San Diego City Council, she's championed housing affordability and authored California's first law banning untraceable guns. She added, quote, "Living our lives as LGBTQ individuals has always, unfortunately, been a brave act in America. If we don't do it now, I don't know what democracy might have left to fight for 3 years from now," end quote. Her campaign, she says, is grounded in love. Quote, "The antidote to hate is not tolerance, it's love," end quote. Well, I think this is a wonderful story because this is the first time I've heard Darrell Issa in the media in about 8 years, and I think before we even get into her candidacy, to remember, Darrell Issa was part of this Young Guns group with Paul Ryan and Trey Gowdy. Look where all they are. They're not. They've been wiped off the political realm, and that's just a reminder to Republicans out there that no one is safe under Trump for very long. But with her, she seems like a great candidate. She also, at the national level, she helped write the PRO Act. She seems to be doing a great thing with most of her campaign. If I was to advise her and to potential candidates, the democracy talk does not actually move voters. What you're going to do, her work on economic stuff, that'll move votes. And I think she's going to be a strong contender in this race.
It's the economy, stupid, right?
Exactly.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
I love that she's advocating for our community. For sure. I love that she's bringing up her own disabled wrong word, her own rights of her past, her history, and making it an issue. I think that's really relevant, and all these Democrats have to stand up and stand out, or we're going to lose the election. And you're right, it's not just about democracy, even though that's probably the most important thing of all of them.
I think that's right, and I think I also am I applaud her and I'm grateful for her, and I want to see more of this. That is, I just want to see more folks coming out, understanding that the issues that are most pressing for us today are the most basic, right? That is, of course, democracy has been holding on to, it has been so fragile for so long.
Been threatened like it is
It's
today.
never been threatened to the extent that it is right now, and well, actually it has. But we've seen an escalate. It escalates certainly at this moment, no question. It's you could almost see the it just hanging by a thread.
There is hope. Run for Something is a group that tries to encourage people to run for office.
Yeah.
They've gone thousands of people expressing interest in running for office. We see people like Zoran Mandani really just coming out of nowhere and taking it everywhere. And it works. And the only way to protect democracy is through making sure that government does what the people need. People have talked
Respond.
about, a 1930s politician from Germany didn't rise during a time when the government was very effective. When governments fail is when tyranny and chaos.
Right. It creates gaps for people to then come over and authoritarian. I mean, it's just so easy. It creates these kind of voids, and that's what they're betting on.
And that's what's so frightening today is that this isn't 1930s Germany. People today are educated. There's television. There's a lot of it. Unfortunately, now as we know with the algorithms and everything else, people stream exactly what they want to hear. There is no other side to want to listen to. And I'd say I'm somewhat guilty of that myself, being a Democrat. But until people understand that what's going on today is really scary, we're going to have some big problems.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Julio Capo, and let's queer up gay culture. 7 million queer elders are coming, and LGBTQ plus retirement communities are stepping up. By 2030, more than 7 million queer Americans over 50 will call the United States home, nearly double today's number. Yet many queer elders still face major challenges in aging with dignity. Discrimination from lawmakers, elder care staff, and healthcare systems continue to leave many without access to gender-affirming or culturally competent care. Because of these inequities, queer seniors experience higher rates of depression, dementia, and chronic illness, making inclusive housing more urgent than ever. And the need is personal. LGBTQ plus elders are twice as likely to live alone and 4 times less likely to have children than their straight peers. According to SAGE, that's Services and Advocacy for GLBT Elders, Queer seniors have been denied shared rooms with partners or told to hide their identities in care facilities. Quote, the fear of going back in the closet remains a real and painful possibility, end quote. To counter that, LGBTQ plus affirming retirement communities are emerging nationwide, offering safe, inclusive environments, staff trained in affirming language and care, and spaces for belonging. Among them are the Connie House in Boynton Beach, Florida, and the Palms of Minnesota in Palmetto, Florida. And even if not all queer elders can access these havens, support networks like National Resource Center and LGBT Aging and SAGE connect seniors to inclusive housing and care options. I have to say, this is something as a historian that I think about a lot, right? Because there's so many, we see so many different generations of some version of this story. And it's all fairly recent, right? Because that is, we think about kind of course, queer people have existed across space and time forever. But the idea of like a gay identity is somewhat new, right? So like that is, 1940s into the 50s really in earnest when people start more identifying as gay and lesbian, and there's like these kind of identities that are clearly formed. And then, as a result of what happens with HIV AIDS beginning in the 1980s, we lost so many people at an early age. So the kind of idea of aging elders in such large numbers in some ways is a really new and unprecedented thing that we haven't dealt with all that much since really the 1990s, right? Like that's when we start seeing it happen the most. And lots of places, including where we, nearby where we are right now to Wilton Manors, have kind of become these gayborhoods that often court and have housing available. But the problem remains they are so expensive. And they really are just, and of course these are the housing facilities that are available in these kinds of spaces where you can find a gay doctor, where you can find a gay, and they're just so difficult to access. And this goes back to our questions earlier and our points earlier. What we really need, this is also just, of course, an issue of affordable housing, of access to healthcare, all these things that we simply just are losing so quickly. And we need to just understand that these are part of the same story.
I think everything is easier when you have money.
Yeah.
A lot of the problems just simply go away. And for a lot of the LGBTQ elders that don't have money, and let's remember one other major factor, a lot of LGBTQ people don't have children.
Right.
And that's a major difference between them and their peers and in the straight community, by not having someone to look after you, by not having maybe a network of friends that will take care of you, and it's really not their responsibility. So it's going to be a real problem for a lot of these people that are growing older, that don't have children, that are watching and taking care of them. They live alone in a home where things can happen. Your kids will hopefully your kids will take care of you as you age. And having that network is paramount to having a safe and maybe thoughtful extended life.
I hear you, and not to completely drag us all down, but there are a lot of facts when dealing with the graying of America. Like, I'm not surprised they mentioned 2030. Who's turning 50 in 2030? People born 1980, the very beginning of the millennium.
Right.
Like, you already have the baby boom. It's now starting to retire.
Wow, yeah.
Now millennials will be getting older by the 2030s. And in the 2030s is when Social Security stops being able to make its payments. People will get about
theoretically.
The theoretical is if we don't raise taxes, your Social Security check gets cut 20%. That's what will happen. There'll be no other way for the government to handle it. Like, that's a real thing. But what we can't ignore when we're talking about aging, and I'm glad we're talking about queer aging because it's going to get really serious. Is not only, yes, queer people and straight people did not have babies starting in the Great Recession. No. This year was the first year that colleges started seeing a decline, not because of, people say, oh, well, Trump did this. Like, he did, but the number of 18-year-olds this year are less than the number of 18-year-olds last year. Like, we have less young people, and now you're seeing, since March, 1.7 foreign-born workers have left the country. Between them and people retiring, the U.S. workforce has contracted by about 800,000 people. 800,000 less workers. That's going to keep happening in overdrive between those policies and the graying of America. We're not going to have people that are going to be able to take care of us in 2030 or in 2040, when I'm getting ready to actually hopefully get a Social Security check, which by then will, be a couple of coupons. There's not going to be any nurses. There's not going to be, we're in for a real road of pain if we do not make dramatic changes.
Oh my God, you're painting such a dismal
picture,
picture, though.
Debbie Downer over
when
here.
it comes to American retirement, if we don't start making it out like the emergency it is, I don't know what we're gonna do at that point. Like, we're gonna be like, what's that movie where no kids were born in England anymore?
Well, before I want to kill myself after listening to you. I mean, I'm ready.
Have that effect on people?
Oh my God, I'm ready to die here. Is this poison?
I mean, also, I think we have to face reality. Things are looking bad, but I also want to, I'm more of a silver lining kind of guy too, or I like to pretend that I am, at least in public. I'm kidding. And one of the things that I also take out of this story is the power of queer kin. That is, if we don't have children, and if we don't have, if some folks, right, if their families have shunned them, and our community is our family in so many really important ways. And I know how many folks who are older that I make sure that they're okay very regularly. It's what we do for each other, and it's not the same, and it's not a replacement, and it's not a substitute. But I also just want to say the power of queer community is queer family, and I think that's so important to the story.
You are that. I like his response.
It's hopeful, adopt a twink kid, then maybe when you retire, they'll be there for you.
And let's not forget, just like you talked about SAGE and those organizations, there are a lot of great organizations that are looking out for these older, queer men and women and helping them age gracefully, because it's a time in your life as you get older, you want to still have that beautiful inner part of yourself shine, and the dignity shine on. And I'm so thankful we have these great organizations in the community helping out.
And all the more reason then, of course, support them, right? That is, if you're able to, please support these great places that are doing.
Absolutely, because you're going to be there one day. I never thought I was going to be here. You'll be there one day.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up the USA View. Christian legal group accused of misusing research to defend conversion therapy before the Supreme Court. A conservative Christian legal organization is facing accusations of deception as it prepares to defend so-called conversion therapy before the U.S. Supreme Court. The Alliance Defending Freedom, ADF, a group long known for challenging abortion rights and LGBTQ plus protections, will argue in Chiles v. Salazar that state bans on conversion therapy for minors should be struck down. But the researchers Lisa Diamond and Clifford Roski, whose work the group cites, say ADF distorted their findings. Clifford Roski, co-author of the 2016 study Misused by ADF, said, quote, "It's deceptive. Lawyers owe a duty of candor to the court. You cannot offer false evidence, and if you do so accidentally and find out, you have to correct that. They claim our work supports conversion therapy when our work clearly and specifically condemns conversion therapy on the same page they've cited," end quote. ADF quoted passages noting that, quote, "Sexual orientation changes for many people," end quote, but omitted the key point that such change, quote, "occurs outside the context of conversion therapy," end quote. The study actually concludes that conversion therapy is, quote, "not only ineffective, but psychologically damaging," end quote. Conversion therapy has been condemned by every major medical association and labeled a, quote, "serious threat to health" by the World Health Organization. Researchers Lisa Diamond and Roski have filed a brief with the court to correct what they call, quote, "profound misrepresentations," end quote, Diamond said. Diamond stated, "That's what's diabolical about ADF, using me. They know they are misrepresenting my views. This case could do some real harm to the very individuals we've spent our lives trying to protect," end quote. Well, before we get into ADF, I want to make sure that when we're talking about research, these are two lawyers that did a piece in a law journal. So they're not specialists in that, and I think this is an important lesson for lawyers to remind them, no, you're not experts in everything. Maybe you should allow mental health professionals to be writing about queer identity in that way. As for the Alliance Defending Freedom, we always have to remember that this is a hate group designated by the Southern Poverty Law Center as such, specifically because their past president has claimed in books that gay men in colleges are going to sexually assault children and pedophilia, and that is a big woo-woo on the hate crime, hate designation. They also have in the past defended criminalizing queer people. They're not a good group. Their work on this continues to be an awful attack on people. My advice, if the court does throw out banning conversion therapy, I think governors should just, make sure that if you do conversion therapy, you have to register your name, your face, treat you sort of like a sex offender in that way, that everyone can know who you are, and make sure that we can protest in front of your house.
Goodness.
You know what? It's scary to me because the court is leaning in that direction. And I am worried that this is such an important law right now, and we need this. There are so many kids that go through this conversion therapy, and it distorts their reality. It ruins their lives. Parents that force their children to do it. I think it's one of the most horrific segments of our society, and anything that can hold up a law that stops people from following that course of action, I support, but I'm not optimistic.
It's such a nightmare, the violence of it all. And I have to say, living in Florida has often been, in smaller courts, we're seeing so many of these things happen earlier. In smaller courts, they've awarded conversion therapy, like loosening of the laws and restrictions throughout in places like Florida, but not uniquely so. To me, this is such an it's a nightmare of a story, to be so clear. Immutability is the word that's often used here, and it's not new to the field, and that is like, so even though they're lawyers, it's actually often used by psychotherapists, by historians, by social scientists, and it's often been really effective to protect trans people in certain cases, right? So that is the idea that gender identity could be immutable is really important for immigration cases, for people seeking asylum, for example. The question here is, like, we've seen this kind of thing, if tracing back to the Kinsey reports, right? Like, that is the idea that one could have same-sex attraction to one person and not to another, and that those things change possibly over time. Doesn't change your sexuality, right? You could still, your same-sex attraction doesn't die, right? But really just kind of gets activated by different people and different connections. And this has been an argument over time, and whether it's validated or not valid. But immutability is kind of I think part of it is it's a dangerous word. It's an odd concept because it does help if used by these, by right-wing entities, right? It can help understand to certain people that gay is a choice. And of course, this is also the Lady Gaga argument, born this way, and this biological determinism. There's this. It's a hard topic for some people to understand, and I think, unfortunately, these things can be instrumentalized for more violence.
No, well, that's sort of my problem with the law. Like, it's one thing for mental health professionals, scientists who know what they're doing in their field to talk about these issues. Lawyers thinking that they can be experts enough to write about it. Of course, the ADF was going to look at it. They're lawyers too. Of course, they're going to look at law journals first, and to just wander in as they have been doing in this way. It's something I've seen from lawyers for years. As someone who's like a political scientist and researcher, I have to deal with them constantly. I'm like, no, that's not how any of the math works. That's not how the budgets work. You don't know what you're doing. Go sit back and go back to teaching Parley Pro. But ADF also, they are trying to wipe away all rights for queer people. Yeah. They were very instrumental in reversing Roe v. Wade. Yeah. When I was at the task force, the ACLU would put out internal documents to us about how, the way the ADF has been going after queer rights in different ways. They're not just trying to take away our rights. Their end game on things like non-discrimination laws is to get all non-discrimination laws thrown out. They want to make this a white, Christian-only nation. Yeah. And you look at that and you think about yourself, this is a country where, we're giving a lot of people guns. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I don't have an opinion on that today. But, we're people that can very easily make rash actions that cannot be reversed. And people like this are trying to create a country where we can legally be very terrible to each other. And that just leads to a society that is not going to be safe for anyone. And I look at groups like the Alliance Defending Freedom, and they're some of the most vile human beings I think this world has ever seen. And I think the LGBTQ rights world has never really stepped up to them as hard as they need to. We've always been way too kid loved with these hate groups.
And I couldn't agree with you more. Well said. And I really struggle when I realize that the intended purpose of a lot of the words that were written in this particular case are being distorted. Yeah. And used against the intended purpose. Yeah. And that is scary when you have lawyers that can find those paragraphs, take those words, reframe the words to mean something totally different than their intended purpose.
Yeah. LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Taste of the Island returns bigger and tastier than ever on November 17th. The 20th annual Wilton Manor's Taste of the Island will return on Monday, November 17th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Richardson Historic Park and Nature Preserve. This year marks the event's biggest celebration yet, featuring over 50 restaurants and beverage vendors offering unlimited tastings of local and international flavors. Guests can enjoy an evening filled with great food, live music, and community spirit under the stars. General admission tickets are $65 through October, but they increase to $75 on November 1st and $85 on the day of the event. VIP tickets are available for those seeking early entry, air-conditioned seating, and 3 complimentary drinks. Taste of the Island continues to support local causes while serving as South Florida's premier culinary experience. For more details, visit tasteoftheisland.org. I can't believe it's been 20 years. I mean, that's incredible. It's a great event. Support it. Food is delicious. The space
Oh, a lot
is
of fun.
awesome.
A lot of fun.
So much fun.
I mean, they had me at 3 cocktails and air conditioning.
Who doesn't love all of those things?
LGBTQ 1 Minute News.
Now let's queer up gay culture. It's 1 minute news. Well, more than half of queer Americans made major life changes under Trump's second term. A new report finds that life for LGBTQ plus Americans has worsened since Donald Trump. Imagine that, since his re-election, and many are making drastic steps to stay safe. According to the Movement Advancement Project, 57% of LGBTQ plus people, including 84% of transgender and non-binary individuals, have made major life changes since November. From moving states to updating IDs or crossing state lines for medical care. The report warns, as political attacks on LGBTQ people by federal, state, and local governments continue to the future, it is likely that these impacts will only accumulate. Well, I will tell you this, there is no truer words that are said. It is a very different world. How many people do you know that have said to you, I'm getting out of here, I'm moving to Costa Rica, or I'm moving somewhere else? And I've never heard those kind of things before. A lot of people are really scared. Yeah. People that are vulnerable, people that don't have a support system. These are people that feel, well, where's my life going to be? And I'm a little bit worried about it myself.
I have to say, in some ways, I'm grateful for this report to kind of validate what we already, but anecdotally, I know that to be true, right? That is just amongst my circle of friends, among our community, how many people have directly been impacted just in the last few months, in the last year, and the number just keeps going up, and it's not an if, it's happening right now.
No, I hear both, and with MAP, they always do such great research. So, for me, I would have liked to know, how queer people are making changes versus the straight community, just to see if there is a major difference or not. But, that's very hard to do from a survey standpoint, to try and get both. And MAP's always doing the sort of good stuff. But, how we as a society handle these things, like the moving to another country, I fear about those that can't afford to leave the country.
Right.
Not everyone can pick up and leave.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing that worries me, is who is in a situation where they're going to be trapped.
Those most vulnerable among us.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News, let's queer up the USA view. Fuck Trump in the ass fame, Stonewall veteran enters hospice. Fundraiser launch for her care. Stonewall veteran and trailblazing activist Miss Major Griffin Gracie is now in hospice care. Her partner, Beck Witt Major, announced on Facebook, Miss Major is at home in hospice. She is comfortable and surrounded by love, end quote. The 84-year-old transgender rights icon has faced ongoing health issues, including a 2019 stroke and recent hospitalizations for sepsis and a blood clot. A lifelong advocate for incarcerated trans women of color, Miss Major led the transgender, gender variant, and intersex Justice Project until 2015. Last year, she told the Democratic National Convention crowd, quote, I'm not going back. I refuse to go back. And if Trump thinks we're going back, fuck him in his ass, end quote. Supporters can help with her care via fundly.com/Miss Major. I met Miss Major at Creating Change back in 2018. Wonderful woman, absolutely nice. And she has a point. Fuck Trump in the ass.
I thought that was you actually saying it in the beginning. You sounded so comfortable with it.
I just want to, Miss Major, we wish you all the best. What she has done for the movement, what she has done for all of us, just as humanity, we owe you a debt of gratitude.
I think we should all say together, fuck Trump in the ass. I mean, there we go. That's for you, honey. Get better.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News, let's queer up drag culture. Drag race queens who hung up their heels after RuPaul's Drag Race, and why. While RuPaul's Drag Race has launched countless queens to international fame, not every performer keeps their drag persona forever. Out.com took a look at least 16 contestants, including some winners, who have retired or stepped away from drag for good. Among them are early trailblazers like Rebecca Glasscock and Angina from Season 1, and James Ross, formerly Tyra Sanchez from Season 2. Others include Carmen Carrera, Stacey Lane Matthews, Ivy Winters, Jeremy Carey, known as Fifi O'Hara, Honey Mahogany, Princess Poppy from Season 15, and Coppertop from Drag Race UK. As the drag world evolves, these artists remind us that stepping away from drag doesn't mean stepping away from self-expression, just redefining it. And I think it's fine to do drag and then do something else. It's great. Drag is a great thing for now, but like changing hats and changing wigs, it's okay to change careers.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Listen, it's a wonderful career. They bring us a lot of joy in our life, and sometimes it's just time to find something else, and we shouldn't hold them accountable for that.
For sure. And for me, it shows the beauty and the power of drag, because it's so many things to so many different people. For some folks, it's an identity, and it's like and for others, it's entertainment, and for others, it's a job, and for it's beautiful to watch the kind of diversity that exists in any given community, and drag is no different. And I just love seeing the evolution of it all.
There's no one kind of drag queen.
No, and we love that. We love the queerness of drag.
I must wonder, when will RuPaul retire and go back to her fracking farm?
I love you, Ru. I love LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up sports. Homophobic chants target Spanish goalkeeper Alberto Lejarraga. LGBTQ plus community demands action. Spanish goalkeeper Alberto Lejarraga, one of the few openly gay male footballers in Europe, was subjected to homophobic chants during a recent Rayo Majadahonda match. Witnesses reported hearing repeated slurs and anti-gay slogans from sections of the crowd, creating what some described as toxic stadium atmosphere. LGBTQ plus advocacy groups swiftly condemned the abuse, urging football authorities to take strong disciplinary action. The Spanish Football Federation faces renewed pressure to ensure accountability. For many fans and allies, the message is clear. Football must stand united against hate. I have to say, this is so common in so many different sports, and it's hard to watch. It's not just homophobic, it's often very racist, too. And yes, these organizations have to take a clear stand that this is not acceptable in this space. The queer sports, inclusive sports, you have to defend that.
Or just sports generally. It's important. Here we have Marlins have gay night, and Dolphins have gay day, and there's a lot of sports, national leagues that are supporting gay days for sports.
And honestly, to the soccer fans of Madrid, shame on you. When people think of the most homophobic places, they don't think about Madrid kids. They are not looking at that as a very straight place. What are you all doing with yourselves? And Spain has such a wonderful history of throwing off fascism and embracing left-wing and diverse policies and accepting people. To see this coming out of Madrid, I was shocked.
Those are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. These anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ community. And if our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and your family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines.
We need your support if our community is to grow and then thrive. We must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Julio Capo, and on behalf of these awesome LGBTQ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Mark Gilbert and Alex Morash, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ world out there, we hope you will join us by embracing love, generosity, bravery, be transformative, and be queer. Good night.
Night.